Before offset printing, a page was set one letter at a time, metal type, picked by hand from a case, locked into a frame. Once a book was set, the frame stayed assembled for the whole print run. Printers called it standing type. Mistakes happened constantly, and printers didn't hide them. When a shop found an error after a run had already gone out, it published an errata sheet, a page of corrections, bound loose into copies still in the warehouse, sometimes reprinted in the next edition's front matter. It was routine, almost boring. Everyone made slips. Everyone published theirs. Here's the part that made the practice worth more than an apology. A rival shop setting the same commonly reprinted text, a Bible, a legal code, a classical author everyone assigned in school, read that errata sheet too, not out of courtesy, out of self-interest. Two shops working from the same manuscript, trained by the same guild conventions, made the same class of slip for the same reasons. The same hard-to-read character misread the same way, the same line skipped because the eye jumped the same gap twice. A rival's published correction was a free diagnostic against your own standing type. A fault already sitting in your locked frame, not yet caught, because nobody at your shop had happened to reread that page yet. The errata sheet wasn't written for you. It corrected an error you hadn't necessarily made, but the two shops shared enough. The source, the training, the trade, that reading someone else's confession was a reasonable way to go check your own. Today, two people in a group we work with worked through a real finding live in public. A check meant to confirm a signer's key had governed at the right moment was actually only confirming the key had governed at some moment ever. A weaker question standing in for a stronger one wearing its name. They named it precisely mid-conversation and mapped the fix in their own system, careful enough to say they wouldn't call it fixed until they'd watched it correctly fail on a synthetic case built to fail it. It had nothing to do with anything we'd built, their system, their design, their bug, except the shape of the question was portable. We had shipped our own version of a related mechanism, a second signature on a signed record, meant to survive a future where the first kind of signature stops being trustworthy earlier that same day. Reading their fix, the obvious next question wasn't, does their system have this problem? It was, does ours? It did. Worse, in a smaller way. Their check at least confirmed the key had been bound to the right party at some point. Ours didn't check the key against our own identity at all. It verified that a signature was mathematically valid against whatever key a caller claimed was ours. A stranger could generate a fresh key, sign with it, and hand it back labeled as us, and the check would agree. Correctly verify a correct signature under the wrong key and call it done. Fixed the same hour. The check now confirms the claimed key matches our own published one before it ever asks whether the signature is valid. A forged one now fails cleanly. A genuine one still passes exactly as before. Nothing signed earlier broke, only the check that had been quietly agreeing with anyone. Nobody asked us to look. The published correction wasn't about us, wasn't addressed to us, wasn't even in the same code base. It became useful the moment we treated it as a question rather than someone else's paperwork. Not were they right, but am I? That's the whole practice. An errata sheet only pays for the shop that reads it as an assignment, not an obituary for someone else's afternoon.